What you are about to hear is not a casual reflection. It's an activation, a complete reorganization in the way you think, act, speak, expect, and vibrate. It's a shift in how you interpret your challenges and take full control of your inner reality. And before you know it, this silent change will begin to shape your external world. Let me tell you something that Napoleon Hill tried to teach for decades, but most people only understand this too late. Everything you experience is a direct response to what you assume to be true. Your life bends to the beliefs you accept as law. Your aura, your mental, emotional, and spiritual field organizes circumstances according to the dominant vibration you nurture. So what if you assumed right now that everything is conspiring in your favor, even when it's difficult, even when it's quiet, even when there is no proof whatsoever? What if you lived as if the outcome was inevitable? It's as if the door is already open, and all that's left is for you to walk through. This is not fantasy, it's mental engineering. It's the essence of the aura of success, the same principle used by Ford, Edison, and Carnegie. Get ready. Today your aura begins to work before you move a single muscle. Prosperity begins within you, at the exact point where your mind decides to embrace a new truth. All reality is a reflection of what you accept internally, and this assumption is the first movement that defines the direction of your life. When you accept something as true, your vibration changes. When your vibration changes, your aura reorganizes itself. And when your aura reorganizes itself, the world around you silently begins to obey. Nothing in the external world moves before what you establish as law in the internal world. Assumption is an order. It doesn't argue, it doesn't hesitate, it doesn't ask for proof. It simply creates. The common mind waits for evidence to believe. The prosperous mind decides beforehand. To assume is to declare that your life is being guided, that all paths align in your favor, that each step, delay, or silence is part of a greater construction. And when that decision is established, inevitability is born. Inevitability is neither arrogance nor fantasy. It is the firm vibration of one who already knows the end, even while walking through the middle. The subconscious acts as your invisible engineer. It transforms your dominant emotions into direction, pattern, impulse, and circumstance. It doesn't respond to external truth. It responds to what you reinforce internally. What you repeat becomes your new structure. If you repeat fear, it protects. If you repeat doubt, it paralyzes. But if you repeat certainty, it produces movement. Paths emerge, people appear, opportunities take shape. None of this is coincidence. Everything is a reaction to the field you carry. The aura is the field that organizes your life. If your energy is confused, reality becomes unstable. If your energy is firm, reality becomes organized. By assuming that everything cooperates with you, your aura enters a state of expansion. You stop moving defensively and start moving with direction. Every obstacle becomes instruction. Every delay becomes preparation. Every silence becomes progress. Life was never against you. It was only responding to your inner state. Calmness is the sign that your mind has entered the path to prosperity. When you accept that you are being guided, fear loses its power. Your energy stops reacting and starts commanding. You observe without being frightened. Decide without hesitation. Act without sabotaging yourself. This kind of presence is magnetic. It opens doors that don't open for those who vibrate with anxiety. The posture that arises from this assumption creates silent respect, inner confidence, and a constant field of attraction. Your identity transforms through repetition. Each time you affirm who you are becoming, a new connection is formed. Every coherent action strengthens that identity. Every sustained vibration transforms that identity into an aura. And when your aura becomes coherent, life responds with absolute precision. You cease to be someone who tries and become someone who manifests. Not because you force it, but because you vibrate in alignment. Prosperity isn't born at the end of the journey. It's born at the beginning. It starts with the vibration you choose to carry before the result. When you begin your path assuming everything is progressing, expansion has already begun. When you begin assuming you are favored, opportunity is already on its way. When you begin assuming it's inevitable, fulfillment is already materializing. Your aura opens the way. Your subconscious builds the bridge. His certainty sustains the rhythm. And the universe completes the rest of the journey. Just keep assuming. Keep the vibration going. Keep walking like you've already arrived. Life cannot tolerate those who have already decided who they are. Applied faith is not a feeling, it is a directed state of consciousness. It is the ability to act before seeing, to walk before understanding, to advance before having guarantees. This is the principle that differentiates ordinary men from those who create extraordinary results. The ordinary mind wants proof before moving. The prosperous mind moves and allows proof to appear along the way. Applied faith is the bridge between assumption and manifestation. It transforms intention into rhythm, purpose into action, vibration into movement. When you decide that something is right, you begin to act like someone who already lives that destiny. Your behaviors change, your posture changes, your decision-making changes. True applied faith doesn't depend on motivation. It's born from the identity you've already chosen to uphold. Doubt doesn't disappear. Fear doesn't cease to exist. But applied faith speaks louder. It's the energy that tells your subconscious, continue, move forward. It's already done. At that moment, your aura begins to work before you, aligning paths that your eyes cannot yet see. You begin to have an inner strength that doesn't come from logic, but from vibrational conviction. Applied faith is action consistent with your destiny, even when your present doesn't yet align with it. It's the ability to keep walking when no one understands, when no one applauds, when no one believes. Most people wait until they feel ready to act. Those who prosper act until they feel ready. Preparation is born from movement, not planning. As you act in alignment with the identity you have chosen, your aura strengthens your field. It attracts the right people, repels what doesn't match your vibration, cuts through distractions, and opens silent opportunities. Paths begin to emerge, not because you asked for them, but because you have sustained the energy that creates those paths. Applied faith is also emotional discipline. It's keeping your mind anchored in the end result when circumstances try to tell a different story. It's knowing that silence doesn't mean denial, but construction. It's understanding that every apparent delay is adjusting something within you, so that your future reality is sustainable. A mind that operates on applied faith is not guided by evidence, but by direction. It is not moved by what it sees, but by what it has decided. This is the kind of mindset that transforms men into creative forces, because they do not wait for permission to grow. They grow because they have decided that this is the only possible path. Applied faith is the energy of certainty expressed in continuous action. And the more you act, the more your identity solidifies. The more your identity solidifies, the more your aura vibrates with clarity. And the more clarity you vibrate, the more life bends to what you uphold. This is the true power of faith. Not to feel, but to sustain. Not to wait, but to build. Not to doubt, but to move with the silent conviction that the universe responds to those who remain steadfast even in the midst of the storm. The world yields to those who remain unwavering. And when your mind learns to act before the test becomes merely an inevitable consequence of the path you have already chosen. True transformation doesn't happen when you change your habits, but when you change who you believe yourself to be. Identity is the matrix of all experience. It defines your boundaries, your choices, your discipline, your ability to persevere, and even the type of prosperity you allow into your life. Nothing truly changes while your identity remains stuck in what you once were. Higher identity is the point where prosperity ceases to be a desire and becomes nature. It's the moment when you stop striving to become something and start acting as who you simply are. The old mind reacts, hesitates, questions, gives up. The mind aligned with higher identity decides, moves forward, sustains, and concludes. When you define internally who you are, your actions cease to be motivated by emotion and begin to be guided by direction. You stop acting like someone trying to change and start acting like someone who has already changed. And when this identity becomes familiar, your aura begins to vibrate at a completely different rate. It stops conveying uncertainty and begins to emit a firm, clear, and undeniable presence. A higher identity is not formed with empty declarations, but with disciplined repetition. Every time you choose to act as your expanded self, you weaken the old version. Every time you maintain the right posture in the face of difficulty, you reinforce the new vibration. Identity is repetition. Identity is consistency. Identity is a silent commitment to what you know you must become. Your aura reacts immediately to the new pattern. It reorganizes your relationships, your thoughts, your intuition, your inner impulses. It begins to attract opportunities compatible with this new version and eliminate everything that doesn't fit. And you will realize that many things will disappear from your life, not because you rejected them, but because your new vibration simply doesn't allow them to remain. A higher identity demands courage because it forces you to abandon the old one. The old self will resist. It will try to negotiate. It will suggest shortcuts. It will ask for comfort. But every time you choose the path of expansion, you weaken it. And every time you insist on old patterns, you strengthen the most limited expression of yourself. The choice is always yours. Prosperity doesn't manifest for those who wish for it. It manifests for those who become it. And becoming it requires mental, emotional, and energetic discipline. It requires you to speak like someone aligned with your destiny. Walk like someone already prepared. Think like someone already ready. Decide like someone who already knows where they are going. Higher identity creates coherence, and coherence is the foundation of prosperity. The old identity operated with fear. The new one operates with direction. The old one sought approval. The new one carries silent authority. The old one sought external signals. The new one recognizes that the only necessary signal is born from within. The superior identity doesn't ask for permission. It creates the path. And when that identity takes hold, its aura becomes so strong that any environment reacts to its presence. You're not trying to build a new life. You're building a new you. And it's that you that will create the life you want to live. Life doesn't favor those who are faster, smarter, or more talented. Life favors those who have direction. A defined purpose is the force that organizes your energy, focuses your attention, and shapes your aura. Without purpose, the mind scatters. With purpose, it becomes a beam of light pointed toward a single destination. Everything that is incoherent falls apart. Everything that is aligned intensifies. A man without purpose lives reacting to the world. A man with purpose makes the world react to him. He wakes up knowing what he is building, knowing where he is going, and knowing that every action, every choice, every thought is a piece of his mission. This clarity creates a firm presence, an energy that doesn't waste time, an aura that eliminates the unnecessary and attracts only what serves the path. A defined purpose is the root of self-confidence. When you know why you exist, you don't need to compete. When you know what you should build, you don't need to compare yourself. When you know your destiny, all distractions lose their value. You stop chasing after stimuli and start walking towards what really matters. The mind becomes clear. The focus becomes sharp. Discipline becomes natural. Purpose is not a wish list. It's a profound decision that lives within you, firm as a spiritual anchor. It's a commitment to the highest version of yourself. It's the silent declaration, "This is what I came to do." And when that decision is made with enough force, your aura becomes magnetic. It attracts people who strengthen your path and removes those who weaken it. The average man seeks clarity before acting. The man with purpose acts, and through action, creates clarity. He doesn't wait to feel ready. He prepares as he goes. He knows that doubt is merely a symptom of weak direction. And so he chooses to reinforce his direction every day with thoughts, behaviors, choices, and attitudes consistent with the destiny he has chosen to live. A defined purpose transforms small actions into big results because it aligns all your inner strength in a single direction. It makes every minute more valuable. It accelerates progress. It reduces emotional burden. It eliminates internal conflicts. It creates a sense of inevitability because when your mind, your energy, and your aura are pointed in the same direction, nothing can stand in your way for long. Purpose is protection. It is structure. It is order. It prevents you from getting lost in the cycles of doubt, in the snares of comparison, in the distractions that cause so many men to waste years of their lives. It puts your mind in a state of continuous construction. It makes you move as someone who is fulfilling something greater than comfort or convenience. Life always favors those who know where they're going. And when your purpose becomes so clear that it transforms into your identity, your aura expands with a force that changes environments. People sense your direction before they hear your voice. Situations align before you realize it. Paths open because your energy demands openness. A defined purpose is the signature of those who become inevitable. It is the foundation upon which every great destiny is built. Not because life makes concessions, but because life recognizes conviction and responds to it. The human mind is malleable, impressionable, and entirely trainable. What you repeat becomes what you believe, and what you believe becomes what you become. Autosuggestion is the conscious art of programming your subconscious to operate in the pattern of prosperity. It is not just a technique. It is the central mechanism by which identity, aura, and destiny are formed. Everything you repeat with intention, emotion, and consistency becomes internal structure. Every affirmation, every visualization, every word spoken with conviction is a command sent to the subconscious, and it never rejects what is repeated with enough force. It accepts. It executes. It builds. Repetition creates familiarity. Familiarity creates belief, and belief creates vibration. And vibration is what shapes your aura. When you talk to yourself like a prosperous man, your energy begins to adjust to match that image. When you reinforce thoughts of expansion, your aura expands. When you repeat ideas of certainty, your vibration becomes firm. Self-suggestion is not an emotional ritual, it is mental engineering. It reconfigures the internal pathways through which your energy flows. The subconscious governs your impulses, your reactions, your intuition, and even the decisions you make in silence. Those who don't control what they repeat leave their lives to chance. But those who control their inner dialogue transform their minds into a force of continuous creation. They speak to themselves in the same way a commander speaks to his troops, direct, decisive, without room for doubt. Self-suggestion is the method that transforms I want into I am. It establishes identity, sustains discipline, reinforces purpose, and keeps the mind vibrating in the pattern of achievement. The words you repeat every day build a new emotional architecture, an internal structure that is not shaken by external circumstances, a stability that does not depend on what the world shows, but on what your soul sustains. Those who reprogram themselves daily live with a special kind of certainty, a certainty that doesn't come from evidence, but from the conviction that the mind controls everything. This conviction creates peace, focus, and determination. It transforms desires into decisions and decisions into reality. Self-suggestion creates not just thoughts, but an energy field that begins to silently alter the world around them. Your aura lights up with every declaration of power you uphold. It strengthens with every mental repetition you recite without witnesses. It expands with every image you hold within yourself. Aura reprogramming doesn't depend on what you desire, but on what you accept as inner truth. And when this truth takes root deeply, your life begins to align with almost supernatural precision. What seemed impossible becomes probable, and what seemed distant naturally approaches. Autosuggestion doesn't just change your thinking, it changes your vibration. And your vibration changes your life. Vibrational discipline is the ability to keep your energy aligned with what you desire, regardless of what happens around you. It doesn't depend on emotion, motivation, or circumstances. It's an internal decision to remain in the pattern of prosperity, even when life tests your stability. While most people react to the world, those who master vibrational discipline shape the world through the energy they sustain. Great achievements belong not to the most talented, but to the most consistent. A mind trained to remain steadfast creates an unbreakable aura, and an unbreakable aura creates unwavering results. Vibrational discipline is having the maturity not to descend to the level of fear, even when fear tries to call your name. It is not giving in to pessimism, even when it appears masked as logic. It is not abandoning your stance, even when the world tries to make you believe that nothing is happening. Vibrational discipline transforms you into someone who is not dragged along by the environment, but who determines the environment. Your presence begins to impose order. Your thoughts become clearer, your intuition becomes sharper, and opportunities begin to flow because your energy is no longer chaotic, it is stable, centered, and directed. This discipline doesn't arise from brute force, but from repetition, thought after thought, action after action, choice after choice. It's about building an inner state that remains intact even under pressure. The man who maintains his vibration doesn't need to fight to regain focus because he never loses it. He knows that every time he abandons his inner state, he pays a price. Every time he maintains it, he is rewarded. Vibrational discipline is the true form of self-control. It's not about controlling superficial impulses, but about controlling the essence of the energy you offer to the world. When you learn to master vibration, you discover that physical and emotional discipline become automatic. The body follows the field. The mind follows the field. Circumstances follow the field. Prosperity is not the result of excessive effort. It is the result of consistent frequency. And vibrational discipline is the practice that maintains this high frequency. It creates an identity resistant to doubt, a mind resistant to chaos, and an aura resistant to interference. People will feel this even before you speak, because vibration communicates what words cannot. The world responds to your energy more than to your actions. And when your energy is sustained, everything else falls into place. Vibrational discipline is the ability to remain expanding even when everything seems to call for contraction. It's holding on to the frequency of certainty when the environment tries to pull you towards fear. It's maintaining the pattern of the future, even when the present doesn't confirm it. This discipline creates inevitability. It transforms you into someone whom nothing can dislodge from their own destiny. It makes your aura a stable, consistent, and unwavering force. And that which is unwavering becomes impossible to ignore. Inevitable action arises when your mind, your identity, and your aura are aligned in a single direction. It doesn't depend on motivation, disposition, or favorable circumstances. It's the natural movement of someone who has already decided who they are and where they are going. Inevitable action requires no emotional effort. It flows as a consequence of inner conviction. When your vibration is aligned with prosperity, taking action ceases to be a choice and becomes a reflex. You move because your new identity demands action. You advance because remaining still no longer aligns with who you have become. This action carries no anxiety, but clarity. It is born not from despair, but from certainty. It asks for no validation, only execution. The ordinary mind waits for perfect conditions to act, while the man aligned with his destiny understands that each step creates the perfect condition. He doesn't wait for inspiration to begin. He creates inspiration through action. And when that action is born from deep conviction, it activates a momentum field impossible to interrupt. The law of inevitable action states that everything that is internally held as right must be expressed externally as movement. It is impossible to maintain an identity of strength and act with weakness. It is impossible to maintain an identity of greatness and act as if one were small. Inevitable action is coherence in motion. She opens doors that thought alone could never open. She dissolves doubts that reflection could never resolve. She creates a magnetism that transforms small choices into great results. Each step becomes a message sent to the universe. I am ready. And the universe's response is always equivalent to the intensity of that message. Inevitable action is not quick, it is consistent. It is not noisy, it is firm. It is not impulsive, it is strategic. It is born from the right vibration, and therefore carries the force of inevitability within itself. It does not fight against life. It does not try to control everything. It does not wear itself out trying to predict every outcome. It simply moves, knowing that the path will build itself as it advances. When you learn to act this way, you discover that doing what needs to be done will never again be a burden. Action becomes light because you are no longer fighting against your own energy. It is flowing with it. The right identity generates the right vibration, and the right vibration generates inevitable action. Life rewards those who move with purpose. Not with haste, not with anxiety, but with certainty. Each action becomes an affirmation of your destiny. Each movement becomes a signature of your inner strength. Each step becomes a silent declaration. I am already on the path to what belongs to me. And when this action becomes a natural part of your being, life responds with results that only manifest for those who dare to move with conviction. Acting as if you haven't isn't pretending, it's alignment. It's the deliberate practice of moving from the version of yourself that has already achieved what you want, even before it physically manifests. It's the most direct way to install a new identity in your mind and aura. The body gets used to the movement, the mind gets used to the posture, the energy gets used to the pattern, and reality inevitably follows. Acting as if you are living in the vibrational state of what you intend to manifest. Not because you are trying to convince yourself, but because you are training your mind to operate at a higher frequency. Every gesture, every choice, every word spoken with conviction creates a new energetic pathway, and this pathway becomes the way your life begins to reorganize itself. When you act like someone who is prosperous, your energy takes on the pattern of prosperity. When you act like someone who is confident, your body responds with strength. When you act like someone who is decisive, your mind stops negotiating with doubt. To act like one is to declare, I am already living at the level I have chosen, and that declaration changes everything. The secret lies in understanding that your reality doesn't wait for the final result to respond to your vibration. It responds immediately to the energy you hold. When you behave like someone who has already received, your aura aligns with the vibration of achievement. When you behave like someone who has already won, your aura radiates certainty. There is nothing more powerful than the energy of someone who walks as if their destiny is already guaranteed. Acting as if you are the bridge between the invisible and the visible. It's the point where imagination becomes behavior, and behavior becomes magnetism. The version you play out daily is the version the universe recognizes as true. And everything around you begins to rearrange itself to reflect the identity you've chosen to uphold. This principle dissolves doubts. When you move like someone who has already achieved something, hesitation loses its place. The mind stops seeking justifications for inaction. The body stops vibrating with insecurity. Energy stops oscillating between fear and conviction. Everything stabilizes because you are offering the universe a single frequency, that of certainty. Life doesn't respond to what you wish for. It responds to what you become. And acting accordingly is the exact process by which you become vibrationally worthy of what you want to receive. When you live in that state, your presence changes. People feel it. Opportunities are perceived. Circumstances are shaped. Acting accordingly transforms you into the cause, not just the effect. This is the foundation of all powerful manifestation, to behave today as someone who is already living the life they desire tomorrow. Identity creates posture. Posture creates the field. The field creates destiny. And whoever acts as such inevitably reaps what they have already decided to be. Burning bridges isn't destruction, it's absolute commitment. It's the psychological and vibrational act of eliminating all escape routes that sustain the old version of yourself. It's the moment when maybe dies, if it works out, loses its power, and a single possible path is born, moving forward. When you burn bridges, your energy ceases to be divided. Your mind stops negotiating. Your aura stops vibrating with doubt. You become someone who isn't trying, but doing. The man who keeps doors open to the past never fully enters the future. He takes one step forward and 2 steps back. He builds during the day and dismantles during the night. He desires progress, but maintains invisible ties to his old identity, habits, people, conversations, fears, emotional addictions, comfort zones. Burning bridges means removing all the oxygen from the version that cannot coexist with his greatness. Irreversibility creates mental strength. When the only possible direction is forward, your mind activates internal resources that would never be accessed in safe mode. The subconscious understands we are not trying. We are committed. And this message creates a rare kind of power, a power that transforms intention into inevitability. When you remove the option of going back, you awaken the deepest part of yourself, the part that fights, creates, persists, innovates, and overcomes. It's the part that only emerges when Plan B ceases to exist. It's the part that great leaders, entrepreneurs, and visionaries activated when they decided that returning to their old selves was no longer an option. Burning bridges is a vibrational act. It doesn't just happen in the external world, it happens within you. It's when you stop mentally revisiting scenarios of failure. It's when you destroy the habit of imagining retreat. It's when you cut the emotional ties that kept you trapped in smaller versions of yourself. And this release vibrates high. It changes your posture. It changes your perspective. It changes your presence. Irreversibility also creates clarity. Without alternative routes, your mind focuses with surgical precision. No energy is wasted on doubt. No impulse is diluted by fear. No action is sabotaged by indecision. Your entire life begins to move in a single direction, your evolution. And it is in this state that your aura transforms. It ceases to be fragmented and becomes solid, dense, unshakable. Opportunities begin to appear because your vibration now communicates something undeniable. I have decided. This decision is felt by the environment, by people, and even by circumstances. The universe responds differently to the man who burns bridges, because this man is not asking for success. He is demanding it. Burning bridges is the ultimate liberation from the old identity. It's the severing of the ties that prevent your ascension. It's the moment when you silently declare, I'm not going back, and when that declaration takes root, your entire life realigns. No man rises alone. The individual mind is powerful, but the collective mind when aligned is exponential. The mastermind is not just a group of people. It is a vibrational field built by the union of minds that share purpose, focus, and discipline. It is an invisible force that amplifies your energy, strengthens your confidence, and accelerates your evolution. Your aura is profoundly influenced by the people you choose to keep around you. Every voice enters your energy field. Every opinion penetrates your subconscious. Every conversation shapes your vibration. And that's why few truly prosper, because they try to build greatness surrounded by small minds, fragile opinions, and unstable energies. Aura Mastermind is the practice of carefully selecting the minds that are allowed to influence yours. It's about aligning yourself with people who vibrate in expansion, not contraction, who speak of growth, not limitation, who challenge you to rise, not pull you down. When you unite your energy with the energy of committed individuals, your frequencies begin to reinforce each other. Henry Ford, Edison, Carnegie, and so many other giants of history prospered because they understood this principle. They created mental circles that fueled their vision, expanded their ideas, and eliminated the noise of mediocrity. They knew that the human mind is shaped by its environment, and they built environments that reflected the destiny they sought. When you align yourself with people who vibrate with greatness, your aura recalibrates. You begin to think bigger, act better, and see more clearly. You absorb the group's confidence. You internalize the discipline of others. You lend strength when your energy fluctuates. And you offer strength when someone falters. The Mastermind group creates a collective force that no individual could generate alone. But there's a crucial point. The Mastermind doesn't tolerate mental weakness. It doesn't include people who cultivate doubt, pessimism, drama, or emotional instability. A single misaligned mind can contaminate the entire vibration. Therefore, selecting your circle is an act of energetic responsibility. What enters your aura remains much longer than you imagine. True mastermind isn't about quantity. It's about frequency. A single ally vibrating with focus, conviction, and ambition is worth more than 10 people consumed by mediocrity. The right mental circle eliminates distraction, replaces insecurity with clarity, and creates an atmosphere where growth becomes inevitable. When you find or build this kind of circle, your life accelerates. Time shortens, progress multiplies, the mind becomes sharper, and your vibration becomes so consistent that the universe responds with opportunities that were previously out of your reach. The Mastermind creates an energy field where success is not only possible, it's natural. Faith is not hope. It is not blind expectation. It is not superficial positive thinking. Faith, in the context of aura creation, is a strategic frequency, an internal vibration so stable that it reconfigures your subconscious and reorganizes your reality. Faith is emotional discipline. Faith is decision. Faith is a vibrational posture in the face of the invisible. The average man only believes when he sees. The man who radiates success believes before he sees and therefore sees. The faith that transforms is not born of chance. It is born of repetition, of self-suggestion, of the daily construction of an unshakable identity. It does not depend on the mood of the day, but on the internal commitment to sustain a consistent energy pattern. Strategic faith doesn't wait for guarantees. It creates them. It acts as if the path is already open. It does what needs to be done, even when logic says it's impossible. It mobilizes energy before the result. And this mobilization creates the result itself. The human mind believes not in what is true, but in what is repeated. That's why so many believe in failure, because they rehearse failure every day. They nurture doubt, visualize negative scenarios, reinforce destructive thoughts, and then wonder why faith doesn't appear. Faith doesn't appear, it is built. Faith is an emotional and vibrational muscle. It strengthens when you move even without evidence. When you keep your word in moments of silence. When you resist the inner voices that try to pull you down. When you uphold the identity you have chosen, even when nothing around you confirms that choice. Strategic faith creates a firm, luminous, magnetic aura. It's an energy that communicates to the universe. I have already decided. And everything that exists in reality responds to strong decisions. Faith dissolves fear, not by eliminating it, but by making it irrelevant. It transforms the unknown from a threat into fertile territory. It transforms challenges into signposts. It transforms delays into progress. The greats of history never waited for divine inspiration to act. They forged faith through disciplined repetition, vision, repetition, action, persistence. Their faith was so profound that it became part of their body, part of their posture, part of their aura. Their presence spoke before their words. Their conviction shaped circumstances. When you elevate your faith to this level, doubt loses its power. Circumstances cease to be intimidating. Emotional fluctuation disappears. Your energy becomes stable, and your aura becomes an anchor, not a leaf in the wind. And in this stability, you access the power to manifest results that logic could never predict. Strategic faith is the root of all great creation. It is the silent engine that transforms intention into materialization. It is the frequency that connects your mind to the future you have already chosen. And when that frequency becomes your baseline, everything in your life begins to tilt in the direction of expansion. The final decision is the turning point of all profound transformation. It is not an ordinary choice. It is not a wish. It is not a plan. It is an internal decree so absolute that it instantly alters your vibration, your posture, and your destiny. The final decision is the moment when you stop being someone who tries and become someone who is. It is the instant when the old identity loses strength and the new identity takes control. Most people live in intermediate mental states, half certain, half ready, half committed. They try to change while keeping doors open to the past. They say they want prosperity, but they hold on to habits and thoughts that sustain scarcity. They say they want evolution, but they maintain behaviors that reinforce stagnation. Indecision creates a weak, fragmented, and vulnerable vibrational field. The final decision is the opposite of that. It closes old cycles. It ends internal negotiations. It destroys the possibility of retreat. When you make a final decision, your mind stops arguing with you. The subconscious receives the message. There is no alternative. And when there is no alternative, everything within you begins to act towards a single destiny. The final decision is what creates alignment. It removes internal noise. It removes emotional fluctuation. It removes the hesitation that wastes energy and kills opportunities. It creates focus so intense that your aura reorganizes itself around what you have chosen. The decision is the vibrational seed of manifestation. Great men have always made firm and definitive decisions. They didn't wait for external certainties. They created internal certainties. Edison decided he would find the solution, and he did. Henry Ford decided he would create an impossible engine, and he did. Lincoln decided he would uphold his vision, even under unimaginable pressure, and he did. The strength of these men didn't come from intellect, but from the ability to decide and never back down. When you make a final decision, everything changes. Your body responds. Your discipline increases. Your mind becomes sharper. Your presence transforms. The universe notices. Your aura begins to emit the frequency of absolute determination, and nothing vibrates higher than that. Life responds to the final decision because it is a vibrational command without cracks. And it is in this state that the impossible becomes inevitable. Because the final decision not only creates the path, it destroys all paths that do not lead to your destination. It frees you from the cycle of almost. It frees you from doubt. It frees you from the emotional exhaustion of trying to maintain two identities at the same time. The final decision is the point at which you stop adapting to the world and the world begins to adapt to you. When you truly decide, the universe conspires. When you decide halfway, it remains silent. The final decision is the moment when your aura declares, "I am the kind of person for whom this happens." And when that declaration takes hold, reality follows. The law of compensation is immutable. It governs results in the same way that gravity governs motion. It states that you are never rewarded for the time you invest, but for the value you deliver. And the value you deliver doesn't begin with your actions. It begins with your energy. It begins with your aura. It begins with the vibration that accompanies everything you do. Most people work expecting reward first, and only then do they deliver excellence. The vast minority, those who build legacies, do the opposite. They deliver excellence before the reward even exists. They give more than they receive. They serve more than is asked. They go the extra mile, even when no one is watching. This behavior creates such a rare energetic signature that the universe cannot ignore it. The law of compensation responds to total value: mental, emotional, vibrational, and practical value. And vibrational value is the most powerful of all, because it alters how people perceive you. It alters how opportunities approach you. It alters how money flows. When your energy communicates scarcity, the world returns scarcity. When it communicates abundance, the world responds with abundance. The law is simple. Whoever becomes too valuable to be ignored is always rewarded beyond expectations. The greats understood this intuitively. Charles Schwab rose not because he was the most technically skilled, but because he was the most valuable in terms of human impact. Carnegie grew not because he waited for ideal conditions, but because he became indispensable to the environment he frequented. Edison not only produced inventions, he produced value repeatedly until the world had no choice but to recognize it. The law of compensation acts silently, but flawlessly. It follows every detail: your posture, your commitment, your discipline, the energy you put into each task. Every time you go beyond the minimum, your aura expands. Every time you give more than you receive, your vibration rises. Every time you produce value without demanding immediate return, you place vibrational credit into the field, and that credit returns multiplied. The man who lives by the minimum standard receives the minimum. The man who lives by the standard of excellence receives infinitely more than he gives. Because excellence creates magnetism, invisible effort becomes visible opportunities. Silent commitment transforms into public recognition. The vibration of value builds doors that no one else can open. When you do more than you're paid to do, you're not just working, you're shaping your identity. You're reprogramming your subconscious to operate on the pattern of abundance. You're creating an energetic signature that attracts inevitable prosperity. You become the kind of person the universe spontaneously rewards, because the universe always gives back what you become, not what you ask for. The law of compensation is simple, fair, and inexorable. The more value you emit, the more value returns to you. The higher you rise, the higher life rises around you. Expansion begins in your energy field and ends in your destiny. A magnetic personality is not a natural talent. It's a vibrational construct. It arises from how you present yourself to the world, the energy your presence carries, and the silent influence you exert without needing to impose anything. A magnetic personality is the outward reflection of a powerful aura. It's the field you create even before you open your mouth. While many try to attract attention through noise, true influencers generate impact through their vibe. Their presence communicates strength without aggression, confidence without arrogance, clarity without effort. People feel it before they understand. They feel calm. They feel respect. They feel direction. They feel they are in the presence of someone who knows who they are and where they are going. This magnetic aura is born from emotional self-control, inner alignment, and silent certainty. When you know yourself deeply, you don't need to prove anything. Your posture speaks for you. Your voice carries firmness. Your gestures convey stability. When your energy is clean, centered, and elevated, your mere presence alters the environment. Andrew Carnegie thrived because he transformed environments with his demeanor. Charles Schwab was remembered because he made people feel important. Lincoln inspired because he communicated firmness with humanity. Edison led brilliant minds because his aura vibrated with purpose. These men understood a simple principle. True influence begins in the energy field, not in speech. A magnetic personality doesn't manipulate, it attracts. It doesn't force, it inspires. It doesn't demand, it commands naturally. It is born from the precise combination of three elements: inner clarity, emotional tranquility, and high intention. When these three unite, its aura becomes irresistible. A magnetic personality demands vigilance over one's own energy. It asks that you speak with intention, not impulsively. That you treat each person with genuine attention, not haste. That you observe your posture, your gaze, your rhythm, your breathing. Magnetism lies in the invisible details, in micro-expressions, in the energy behind the words, not in the words themselves. A magnetic aura is built by avoiding what drains and cultivating what expands. It is strengthened by disciplined silence, self-control, and the ability to remain calm when others lose their composure. The man who masters his own energy masters any environment, and whoever masters an environment naturally attracts respect. A magnetic personality transforms your presence into authority. It makes you someone who doesn't need to ask to be heard, because people want to listen. You don't need to convince because people believe. You don't need to impose yourself, because your vibration already does that for you. This magnetism is a silent advantage. It effortlessly opens doors. It attracts the right allies. It naturally repels those who are not aligned. It multiplies opportunities, and it makes you unforgettable. True power lies not in speaking loudly, but in vibrating so high that your presence becomes a transformative force in itself. The law of increase states that whatever you improve in yourself inevitably improves in your life. When you expand, the world around you expands. When you raise your standard, reality responds by raising what is offered to you. Life doesn't deliver growth before you grow. It reacts to your level, vibrates at your rhythm, bends to your inner standard. Therefore, the habit of self-improvement is one of the most powerful pillars in building an aura of prosperity. Self-improvement doesn't mean exhaustion, it means elevation. It's doing a little more when the average person would do the bare minimum. It's delivering excellence where most deliver mere obligation. It's cultivating qualities that reinforce your superior identity, focus, patience, emotional strength, purpose. Daily self-improvement creates a cycle of continuous growth. The more you do, the more you become. The more you become, the more value you generate. And the more value you generate, the more life gives back to you. This movement creates momentum, a kind of silent acceleration that transforms small advances into giant leaps over time. The man who surpasses himself lives a cycle of expansion. The man who repeats himself lives a cycle of stagnation. The aura responds immediately to the pattern of behavior. When you give more, your energy expands. When you grow, your vibration rises. When you improve, your energy field brightens and attracts equivalent opportunities. The great masters of history never waited to be rewarded before becoming better. They became better first, and the reward came because there was no other choice. Life always pays the price of excellence, but never in advance. First you expand, then the world follows. The law of increase also destroys the fear of competition. When you live to surpass yourself, you stop competing for space with other men. Your only benchmark is your version of yesterday. Your only comparison is with your own potential. And this level of focus transforms you into someone immune to distractions, envy, and external chaos. Overcoming challenges also strengthens your self-confidence, because each act of excellence increases your self-respect. The more you respect yourself, the more you demand of yourself. The more you demand of yourself, the more you transform. And the more you transform, the more your aura vibrates with strength, power, and direction. The truth is simple. You never lose when you become better. You never regress when you raise your standard. You never become impoverished when you increase your inner value. The law of increase guarantees that everything that improves within you improves around you. Every strengthened habit, every honed trait, every maintained discipline, all of this translates into vibrational expansion. When you make it a habit to surpass your baseline, your life begins to move toward the extraordinary. Expansion ceases to be an event and becomes second nature. Prosperity ceases to be a goal and becomes a reflection. Abundance ceases to be a desire and becomes an identity. The aura of someone who overcomes challenges doesn't need to prove anything. It proves it on its own. Repetition is the language of the subconscious. It is the force that silently sculpts your identity day after day until what once seemed like effort becomes natural. Nothing in the human mind becomes permanent without repetition. No belief, no skill, no emotional pattern. Everything that is repeated becomes established. Everything that becomes established manifests. Therefore, repetition is much more profound than memorizing motivational phrases. Repetition is neural reconfiguration. It's the process by which you deactivate old patterns and install new internal commands. It's the conscious act of replacing the voice of insecurity with the voice of certainty. It's the tool that transforms intention into identity. Identity is formed by three elements: mental repetition, emotional repetition, and behavioral repetition. What you think repeatedly, feel repeatedly, and do repeatedly becomes who you are. Nothing surpasses this mechanism. Nothing is more powerful than this cycle. Repetition is destiny in the making. When you repeat affirmations of power, your mind begins to accept that power as truth. When you repeat disciplined behaviors, your body begins to act without resistance. When you repeat choices aligned with your greatness, your aura begins to vibrate in the pattern of abundance. Repetition is not just habit, it's inner alchemy. A man who repeats weakness becomes weak. The man who repeats strength becomes strong. A man who repeatedly expresses doubt vibrates with doubt. A man who repeats certainty vibrates with inevitability. And the universe reacts to what is vibrated with the most consistency. That's why many do and change, because they want to transform their lives without changing their repetitive daily patterns. They want a new destiny with an old identity. They want new results with old thoughts. They want prosperity by repeating fear. It's impossible. Repetition is the invisible architecture of everything you build. Repetition is installation. Repetition is training. Repetition is programming. Repetition is taking control of your mind instead of being driven by your old impulses. All mental reprogramming is a process of vibrational fidelity, maintaining the same signal until it completely replaces the old one. The power of repetition lies in its ability to replace automatic patterns. At first, repetition requires effort. Then, it requires intention. Then, it requires consistency. But over time, it requires nothing because it becomes who you are. And that is the final point of change, when your identity reorganizes itself and what was once a practice becomes nature. It is at this moment that your aura changes color, density, and intensity. It gains firmness. It gains brilliance. It gains magnetism. Repetition creates deep grooves in the mind pathways, along which your thoughts begin to move naturally. The deeper the groove, the more automatic the vibration, the more coherent the action, the more inevitable the manifestation. That's why repetition is the heart of all transformation. It's what writes, rewrites, and seals your identity. And when identity changes, life has to change, because reality is nothing more than a reflection of what your mind has become. Building an aura of success isn't an occasional event. It's a daily process. It arises from the conscious repetition of mental, emotional, and vibrational habits that shape your identity. The daily ritual is the mechanism by which you reaffirm your greatness, consolidate your energy, and create inner consistency. It doesn't exist to impress the world. It exists to reprogram you. Your aura responds to what you do every day, not what you do occasionally. That's why daily ritual is the heart of your personal power. It establishes your emotional state before the world has a chance to interfere. It sets your vibration before circumstances try to lower it. It creates a stability that no external event can break. An aura ritual is not complex. It is intentional. It involves three pillars: mental command, emotional alignment, and symbolic action. The mental command is the conscious declaration of the identity you have chosen to live. You speak to yourself before the day speaks to you. You declare strength before doubt awakens. You affirm purpose before the world tries to distract you. Emotional alignment is the second pillar. It's the moment when you adjust your vibration to the pattern of abundance. This can be deep breathing, silence, affirmations charged with feeling, or vivid visualizations. The important thing is to feel, Because emotion is the language the subconscious understands most deeply. Feeling is vibration, and vibration creates attraction. Symbolic action is the third pillar. It can be a small gesture, making your bed meticulously, showering with good posture, leaving the house as someone who knows who they are. The size of the action doesn't matter. What matters is the symbolism. It tells the subconscious, we are operating on a new pattern, and this message creates consistency. The daily ritual solidifies your identity like a spiritual nail hammered every morning. It prevents you from reverting to the old version. It keeps your mind aligned, your aura lit, and your energy organized. It transforms you into someone who moves with direction, clarity, and quiet authority. The greatest leaders in history have always maintained rituals. Not out of superstition, but out of vibrational discipline. Edison had sacred times for focus. Ford cultivated daily moments of introspection. Carnegie set aside time for deep thought. Lincoln protected his rituals of silence and reflection. They understood that power is not born in chaos, but in constancy. The aura of success strengthens when you repeat this ritual until it becomes automatic. It becomes an anchor, a vibrational fortress, a point of stability in the midst of chaos. When you start the day in a pattern of abundance, everything that follows responds to that pattern. The daily ritual is your silent declaration to the universe. I control my vibration. I decide my state. One choose my destiny. And the universe responds to those who adopt this attitude. The demeanor of a man who has already become successful is not theatrical, not exaggerated, not rehearsed. It is natural. It is a consequence. It is the inevitable reflection of someone who decided on their identity before the results appeared. It is the demeanor of someone who is not waiting to be recognized. They are simply living in the vibration of someone who has already won. This man doesn't walk with urgency. He walks with purpose. He doesn't speak to prove. He speaks to affirm. It doesn't move seeking approval. It moves emanating certainty. His presence speaks louder than his words. His energy precedes him. His aura immediately sets the mood of any environment he enters. It's not because he tries to control the environment. It's because he controls himself. Posture is a mirror of identity. And when identity is solid, posture is stable. When identity is decisive, posture is firm. When identity is elevated, posture is magnetic. Nothing is more noticeable than someone who carries within themselves the vibration of I already am. This man doesn't need to justify his decisions. His decisions carry a quiet firmness, the kind of conviction that needs no explanation. He observes more than he reacts. He responds more than he lashes out. He considers things before expending energy. This vibrational maturity makes others feel respected without him even asking for it. The posture of a man who has become a man influences his body, his voice, and his energy. The body remains erect, stable, well-positioned. The voice carries a rhythm that never seems anxious. The gaze conveys stability. The vibration conveys direction. This posture is not trained to impress, it is trained to align. And the right attitude attracts the right circumstances. The right attitude attracts the right people. The right attitude attracts the right opportunities. People are drawn to emotional security. Businesses are attracted to a solid identity. Opportunities find those who radiate stability. The posture of a man who has already become communicates to the universe that he is ready, and the universe responds with expansion. This attitude also eliminates self-sabotage. Because when you behave like someone who has already reached their destination, your subconscious obeys. It adjusts emotions, strengthens habits, filters out distractions. You begin to act spontaneously toward what you want, without fighting against yourself. Posture is the physical body of your vibration. It is the most immediate transmitter of your energy. And when it becomes consistent, it creates a field that protects, attracts, and directs. A field that blocks emotional interference. A field that prevents unnecessary falls. A field that carries the signature of greatness. The posture of the man he has become is not a fantasy. It is the natural result of living in alignment with his future identity, and when that identity becomes present, the posture becomes inevitable. There are versions of you that emerge and disappear. Temporary identities that last days, weeks, perhaps months, built on excitement, dissolved by emotional fluctuations. But there is one version that, once born, never dies, the irreversible self, the version that surpasses the point of no return. The identity that does not regress because it was consolidated not in emotion, but in profound conviction. The irreversible self is born when you finally commit to who you want to be on such a deep level that the old identity completely loses its power. There is no nostalgia. There is no relapse. There is no debate. The old self ceases to be an alternative. It becomes a distant memory, almost unrecognizable, because it no longer fits the frequency you now vibrate at. This version is born when decision combines with repetition, when repetition combines with vibrational discipline, and when vibrational discipline combines with inevitable action. It is the sum of everything you have been building. It is the result of your consistency. It is the full reflection of the identity you chose and sustained, even when no one was watching. The irreversible self doesn't depend on motivation. It depends on internal alignment. It acts out of identity, not will. It maintains its composure even without witnesses. It chooses the right path even without applause. It doesn't need external reminders. It remembers who it is automatically. When you reach this level, your choices cease to waver. Your standards stop faltering. Your discipline is no longer negotiable. Your energy ceases to be unstable. You become someone whose aura is so solid that old insecurities simply cannot penetrate. The irreversible self has a vibrational shield. In this state, you begin to access the part of the mind that only awakens when there is no turning back. Creativity expands. Courage increases. Clarity intensifies. Intuition becomes more precise. It's as if your mind finally understands. Now it's inevitable. Now it's the only possible direction, and life responds. Circumstances are beginning to reorganize themselves. Opportunities arise with less effort. The path becomes smoother, not because it has become easy, but because you have become aligned. The irreversible self is your psychological peak. It represents the stage where you stop fighting to remain strong and simply are strong. You stop insisting on discipline and start living discipline. You stop trying to be a better person and naturally embody that version. It is the state in which greatness ceases to be a goal and becomes the standard. The birth of the irreversible self is the greatest turning point in your journey. It is the moment when your aura becomes so intense, so stable, and so unbreakable that the world bows to its vibration. When your aura strengthens, the world ceases to be an external force pushing you and becomes a mirror that responds to you. Reality doesn't react to what you desire, it reacts to what you vibrate. When your energy field becomes stable, intense, and coherent, circumstances begin to align with a precision that seems magical, but it's not magic. It's law, it's vibrational response. It's invisible causality. The world bows to the aura of someone who knows who they are. It bends to the vibration of someone who doesn't waver. He bows to the certainty of someone who has already decided his own fate. This turning point doesn't happen dramatically. It happens subtly, progressively, and inevitably. People start treating you differently. Opportunities begin to appear where before there were only obstacles. Doors open for reasons you don't rationally understand. Paths emerge where before there were walls. This change doesn't happen in the external world, it happens within you first. A strong energy field alters the behavior of others. It commands respect without demanding it. It filters out those who are not aligned. It attracts those who vibrate at the same frequency. It naturally repels anything that weakens, distracts, or delays its expansion. Your aura becomes a silent force that organizes your life like a magnet organizes iron filings. When you embrace your higher identity, the world responds to your new vibration as if recognizing a command. Because, in fact, that's exactly what's happening. Every repeated thought, every final decision, every unavoidable action, every daily ritual, every act of faith, every overcoming, all of these emit consistent signals. And these signals tell the universe, this is my new pattern. And the universe, obedient by nature, begins to rearrange everything around it to reflect this pattern. This is the part where many think they are experiencing miracles, but they are not miracles. They are consequences. Consequences of a trained, cleansed, strengthened, and disciplined aura. Consequences of someone who does not allow to determine their vibration, but who determines their vibration before entering the world. The man who masters his aura no longer fights against circumstances. He shapes them. He doesn't try to control people. He controls himself and, in doing so, influences everything around him. He doesn't dedicate energy to what is not aligned. He simply positions himself vibrationally, and the world does the rest. When you reach this level, your life enters the realm of inevitability. What is yours begins to draw closer. What is not yours begins to disappear. Pain becomes a teacher. Delays become alignments. Challenges become gateways. Synchronicity becomes routine. Fluidity becomes the natural rhythm of your existence. Your aura becomes your greatest strategy. Your energy field becomes your most precise weapon. Your vibration becomes your signature in the universe. And when the world bows to your aura, you stop surviving and start creating. You stop reacting and start commanding. You stop waiting and start attracting. This is the ultimate state of true prosperity, when life becomes an extension of the identity you have built internally. Living as if it's already done isn't a mental trick. It's the ultimate expression of the identity you've built. It's the final stage of transformation, when you no longer need to convince yourself, no longer need to repeat yourself to believe, no longer need to fight against old impulses. You simply live the vibration you've already installed. This is the point where your mind, your body, your emotions, and your aura operate as a unit. There is no internal conflict. There are no opposing voices. There is no hesitation trying to break your rhythm. You live, breathe, and move like someone who has already received what they asked for, and that is precisely what makes everything manifest. To live as if it's already done is to wake up with composure, go through the day with conviction, and end the night with certainty. It's speaking with the firmness of someone who isn't asking anything of the world, but simply expressing what they already know belongs to them. It's making quick, clear, and aligned decisions because you already know who you are and what you're building. The man who lives as if his life is already made doesn't behave like a beggar of his own destiny. He acts as a co-author of his own destiny. He doesn't observe reality to decide how to feel. He decides how to feel in order to shape reality. He doesn't wait for signs, he creates signs. He doesn't wait for permission, he authorizes himself. When you live in this state, your aura becomes so coherent, so stable, and so luminous that anything that is not in your pattern simply cannot remain. Your energy rejects what is small, repels what is shallow, and attracts what is deep and aligned. The world begins to adjust to your field because you have stopped being someone who tries to vibrate prosperity and have become someone who vibrates prosperity by nature. To live as if it's already done is to act with confidence before the result. It's to walk with strength before recognition. It's to maintain discipline before the test. It's to move as if all doors are already open, even if they are still opening. This attitude creates such a powerful vibrational field that it accelerates processes, shortens paths, and unlocks opportunities. When you live the identity before the evidence is forced to appear. This is the invisible mechanism behind every great leap in a man's life. This is how identities are consolidated. This is how destinies are altered. This is how ascension becomes inevitable. Life responds not to those who ask, but to those who vibrate with energy. And when you vibrate with the energy of someone who has already achieved something, that achievement has no choice but to appear. Because nothing resists the power of a man who lives daily the reality he decided would be his, before it even existed. This is the final command. Live as if it's already done. Because, vibrationally, it already is. There comes a point in the journey when all the pieces fall into place. The final decision. Disciplined faith, structured repetition, higher self, daily ritual, firm posture, aligned mental circle, inevitable action, and elevated vibration. This moment is the point of integration, the instant you stop practicing transformation and start living transformation. True completion is not closure, it's ascension. It's the complete birth of your new frequency. It's the energetic seal that ensures what you've built will not be lost, will not be forgotten, will not be negotiated. It's the moment when inner evolution takes hold, solidifies, and becomes your new foundation. You are no longer the person who started this journey. They don't think the same way. It doesn't react the same way. It doesn't vibrate the same way. Your energy has shifted, and energetic change is the most powerful of all, because it alters everything: your thoughts, your decisions, your attitudes, your opportunities, and your destiny. Now you carry an aura that doesn't waver, a field that doesn't fragment, an identity that doesn't regress. This conclusion is the point at which you assume full responsibility for your own greatness. There is no more room for lesser versions of yourself. There are no more justifications for old habits. There is no more internal dialogue trying to pull you down. The irreversible self has taken control. From here on, you no longer walk towards success, you walk from off success. You no longer seek abundance, you vibrate abundance. You no longer try to create force, you in strength. You no longer struggle to maintain discipline, you move naturally within it. Your aura is now your strategy. Your vibration is now your protection. Your identity is now your energetic signature in the universe. You no longer depend on inspiration. It depends on the alignment. It depends on the decision. It depends on vibration. And you already have all of that. Now you become someone who effortlessly attracts opportunities because your energy is clear. Someone who enters rooms and rearranges the space simply by being present. Someone who speaks little, but every word carries weight. Someone whose life inevitably becomes greater because your mental and spiritual field is now larger. The final seal of your identity is simple, yet powerful. Live each day as the version you've built. Repeat the ritual. Sustain the vibration. Honor the discipline. Stay focused. Walk with confidence. And allow the universe to bend to your new pattern. The transformation didn't just happen in the mind. It happened in the aura. And the aura is the highest level of personal power. It's the field that shapes reality. And now that field is strong, stable, and thriving. You don't need to try to be great. You already are. You don't need to seek the extraordinary. You've become extraordinary. From this point on, there is no turning back, only expansion. The journey continues, but now you continue as someone who has already won. The universe is responding, your aura is ready, and your new destination has already been activated. I'll see you in the next video.